Haddon Hubbard Sundblom was one of the most influential American illustrators of the 20th century, a painter whose commercial images became inseparable from modern popular culture. Working primarily in Chicago for national advertisers, calendar publishers, and major agencies, he helped define the visual language of mid-century American optimism: glossy, approachable, and warm. To millions, his most famous creation is the genial, full-bodied Santa Claus that crystallized the holiday icon in the public imagination. Yet Sundblom's career extended far beyond December. He was a consummate studio painter, a demanding mentor to a generation of illustrators, and a deft businessman who understood both the aesthetics and logistics of mass communication. Sundblom was born on June 22, 1899, in Muskegon, Michigan, to immigrant parents, his father a Swedish-speaking Finn from the Åland Islands and his mother of Swedish heritage. The household blended old-world craft values with new-world ambition, and those roots quietly shaped his sensibility: a respect for handmade workmanship, a love of festive tradition, and a pragmatic approach to earning a living with art. As a young man, he moved to Chicago, then a powerhouse for advertising and publishing, and studied at the Art Institute of Chicago and later the American Academy of Art. Chicago's thriving commercial scene offered opportunities that New York did not monopolize. Artists could learn quickly, earn steadily, and work at scale. Sundblom absorbed classical draftsmanship and painterly technique while developing a personal style built on speed, confidence, and clarity. By the 1920s, he was working full-time as an illustrator, supplying images to agencies and national brands during a period when photography was still expensive, slow, and technically limited for color advertising. Clients needed painters who could deliver bright color, readable compositions, and a narrative at a glance. Sundblom answered with an oil-on-canvas approach that favored large, simplified shapes, lively edges, and a controlled bloom of light. His figures looked alive, their skin luminous and warm, their gestures open and conversational. The work was aspirational without becoming remote. Viewers recognized themselves, or the selves they wanted to be, in his scenes. Sundblom's breakthrough into cultural ubiquity came in the early 1930s, when he was commissioned to reimagine a familiar seasonal figure. He envisioned a benevolent, human-scaled Santa Claus with a twinkle, rosy cheeks, and a welcoming belly, dressed in red and white and rendered with painterly conviction. The image struck a chord during the hardships of the Great Depression, projecting generosity and cheer. Over the next decades, Sundblom returned to this character again and again for winter campaigns, refining the pose, the tilt of the head, the sparkle in the eyes, and the narrative vignettes surrounding him. He often worked from live models and, as the story goes, sometimes from his own reflection in a mirror, donning parts of the costume to perfect the attitude. What mattered most was the feeling, a trustworthy companion of childhood who belonged to the modern world of storefronts and living rooms. Although Christmas imagery cemented his fame, Sundblom's studio was busy year-round. He produced a vast body of advertising art, packaging portraits, and calendar imagery for major publishers, especially the large calendar houses that dominated the mid-century market. In that space, he helped codify the American pin-ups look: healthy, exuberant, humorous, and approachable, rather than aloof or overly stylized. He had an unerring sense for where to place a highlight or soften an edge to keep a picture charming rather than garish, and he understood how a calendar image would read from across a kitchen or office. His Sundblom girls, as admirers later called them, were less about fantasy and more about vitality. They invited a smile. Sundblom was as much a teacher and studio builder as he was an individual painter. In Chicago, he established a bustling workshop that drew young talent from across the Midwest. The informal Sundblom Circle that formed around him included illustrators who went on to their own distinguished careers in advertising, pin-up, and fine art. He critiqued relentlessly but constructively, demanding that pupils learn to draw from life, mass values simply, and paint decisively. The emphasis was on craftsmanship in service of communication. A picture existed to say something clearly in a fraction of a second. Under his guidance, assistants learned not only technique, but also professionalism, meeting deadlines, negotiating with art directors, and preparing canvases for reproduction. His working process combined classical habits with modern pragmatism. Sundblom favored large canvases in oil and painted wet into wet to keep surfaces lively. He would sketch in charcoal, brush in broad masses, and then bring forms to life with confident, economical strokes. He arranged strong key lights to model faces and hands, often bouncing warm light back into shadow to achieve his hallmark glow. He worked from live models whenever possible and, as the industry evolved, used reference photography to capture fleeting expressions and complex poses. Despite the speed demanded by commercial schedules, his pictures never felt rushed. The brushwork looked fresh because he knew precisely what to leave out. The mid-century shift toward color photography changed the market for illustrators, but Sundblom adapted. He took on brand identity assignments and high-visibility campaigns that benefited from his painterly touch and reputation for reliability. He also continued to paint the holiday images that audiences had come to expect each winter, keeping them current without losing their warmth. His ability to reconcile tradition with modernity, old-world craftsmanship with new-world commerce, made him unusually durable in a field that was rapidly transforming. Sundblom's personality helped. Nicknamed Sunny, he was known for good humor, generosity with colleagues, and a clubbable ease with clients. He enjoyed the social life of Chicago's art and advertising circles, and cultivated long relationships with art directors and publishers who trusted his eye. That network, along with his studio's steady pipeline of talent, gave him leverage to choose projects and maintain high standards even when deadlines pressed. The cultural impact of his work is difficult to overstate. Sundblom's holiday imagery standardized a seasonal myth for the age of mass media, influencing everything from department store displays to television commercials and school decorations. His ideal of cheerfulness, eyes crinkled with warmth, gestures open and inclusive, became a visual shorthand for trust and goodwill. In advertising history, he stands as a bridge between the golden age of illustration and the photographic era, proof that painting could still deliver the clearest, most emotionally resonant message when handled by a master. Like many commercial artists of his generation, Sundblom operated in a world where authorship was often subsumed by the brands he served. His pictures became the property of corporations and the backdrop of everyday life. As a result, museums long paid him less attention than private collectors and company archives. In recent decades, however, scholars and curators have reappraised the illustrators who shaped the look of modern America, recognizing that mass images can be both culturally decisive and technically superb. Sundblom's canvases, when seen outside a magazine or billboard, reveal the virtuosity that reproduction can flatten, supple transitions, buoyant color, and brushwork alive with conviction. Haddon Sundblom died on March 10, 1976 in Chicago, leaving behind a legacy that still surfaces each winter and echoes across advertising design year-round. He trained scores of artists, helped major brands find friendly faces and clear voices, and showed that commercial pictures could be painted with the same seriousness and skill as gallery art. If his name is less familiar than the characters he popularized, that is because he succeeded at his chosen task, to make images that belong to everyone. A century after he began, art directors still study his compositions, illustrators still chase his luminous skin tones, and viewers still feel the warmth of a world he painted into being, cheerful, welcoming, and unmistakably modern.